Good evening and welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the planning department. You're all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you are requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide us with precise, accurate information so we as a board can make a decision based on the facts that you present here tonight. We as a board must consider the 5 following conditions. They're listed here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other means. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings and mailings to Mr. Donadio. Then you'll be asked to go to the podium where you will state your name and address for the record and proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can come back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 3 ways to find out about your case. Number 1, you can stay after the hearing, but there's no guarantee that your case will be acted on tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning office tomorrow. Or number 3, you can wait and be notified by mail. We do have 2 adjournments tonight. The first case is case 18201, George Diffendale. Was there anyone here for that case? That has been adjourned to September 10th. The second case is case number 18209, Walter Somoza. Anyone here for that case? Well, that case has been adjourned to October 8th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda is case number 18202, Ramsey and Muriel Kamel, 146 Hayrick Lane, Comac. The location of the property, the west side of Hayrick Lane, 595 feet north of Scholar Lane. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard from 16 feet to 12 feet, reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 26 feet for a proposed 5,452 square foot, 2-story, single-family dwelling with 738 square foot attached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman and board members.
Excuse me, are you the applicant or are you a lawyer?
I'm the architect for the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry. You give power of attorney? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Could you state your name, spell your last name for the record, and give your address, please?
Sure. Eric Hetherington, Hetherington, of H2M Architects and Engineers, is 538 Broad Hollow Road, Melville, New York, 11747.
Right.
I'm here on behalf of Ramsey and Muriel Kamel. My client is requesting a minimum side yard reduction from 16 to 12 foot and a total side yard reduction from 34 foot to 26 foot for the proposed garage expansion. The variance would allow the owner to expand the size of the garage while also maintaining the existing location of the driveway and without the need of any modifications to the front yard. The owner, Mr. Kamel, has previously received approval twice already on this request within the past 6 months. Case number 18126 on March 27th and 18180 on June 11th. The prior requests were granted for specific additions my client was proposing to construct at the time. We're now standing before the board for a third time, as my client is proposing to reconstruct their dwelling from the foundation up, and therefore approval for side yard relief for the entire residence with the garage is required.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18203, SSR C Realty LLC, 711 Smithtown Bypass, Smithtown, sorry, mental block. The location of the property, the southwest corner of Route 347 and Terry Road. The property is split-zoned NB and WSI. The applicant is requesting variances to permit an accessory structure in the required front yard on Terry Road. A variance to reduce the minimum front yard from 50 feet to 24 feet on Terry Road for a proposed 1,116 square foot pergola.
Good evening.
Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York. The pergola's been there for 24 years. The area around it has been improved. It's out by the road, and I have some photos of what it will look like.
Thank you.
A lot of brides are depending on this. They've signed up because they were let them know that we're going to have this. It won't change the character of the neighborhood. It's been there for 24 years. There's no other way I can get this except by variance. It's not substantial. It's not going to affect anybody. It won't have any effect on the environment. And it's not self-created in that we're coming back to have it improved.
There's no height variance with this. It meets
No.
the height requirements.
Nope.
It's just the
Front yard setback.
front yard setback.
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions?
No question.
No. Planning?
No, thanks.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, please. Now, I know there's quite a bit of you. Yeah, it's fine. Sit right down. This is just on the pergola now, nothing else. Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening.
Greetings.
Could I have your name and address, please? Spell your last name.
Yes, my name is Roseanne Salamone, S-A-L-A-M-O-N-E. I live at 8 Belinda Court. I'm here tonight because I do oppose the variance being requested. I received a certified letter regarding a pergola. I received it because my property is within 200 feet of the said property. I was a little puzzled when I first got this certified letter for a pergola because, as everybody knows, the two past meetings, I was here for the proposed hotel and along with 8 other variances. And I had questioned, I said, but why now? Why a pergola now? Because most people who have a pergola put a patio underneath it, potted flowers, a barbecue grill. But in this particular case, what is it really going to be used for? Because whatever they say now suddenly changes at any time. Is anyone going to check to see what it's going to be used for? There is a proposed 4-story hotel with 8 other variances that haven't been approved for as far as I know. And yet there is a necessity to file for a pergola at this stage seems a little suspicious to me. At the first town meeting, it was stated that there were going to be balconies front and back of the hotel. You can discover what I'm saying is true. Just look at the minutes of the last town meeting. At the last zoning meeting, suddenly there are no balconies, just faux. Story has changed. There was a pipe, then no pipe. The water table is 18 feet. Now it's not true. According to the building department, it's 10 feet in my section of Smithtown. There have been many reckless statements, sudden changes, and half-truths at these meetings. What are they really going to put in this pergola? A storage tank machinery, they say it's for a wedding. Nobody here would argue for brides having a beautiful pergola. My daughter got married last year. I totally understand that. How am I to believe anything that they have to say? Because it is certainly not in everyone else's best interest, as I've seen. I can say with certainty that they own the land that's behind my fence. Therefore, anything they do has an impact on my home and my property. I have property, too, that I could build on. I certainly have enough land and airspace for a 3-story structure, but I couldn't, could I? Why? Because there are town codes and zoning laws that everyone must abide by, rich, poor, and in between. Every resident and business owner must abide by the rules and town codes, zoning laws, or else what's the point of having them? We own our property and we would like to do whatever we want with it, but we all must abide by the town codes and zoning laws that are in effect for the town of Smithtown. If all these variances are granted, it will change the structure of the land, causing damaging environmental conditions. What do I mean by that? Flooding. Flooding from stormwater is a major threat. The 2 tree lots on Rhoda Avenue absorb all the rainwater and snow. Once it's excavated and turned into a parking lot, where is all this water going? Right now, the small parking lot on the corner of Terry and Rhoda is pitched towards Terry Road. With a water table of 10 feet, there would be massive flooding. Rhoda Avenue is a steep and winding road. All the cars and homes will be under a great threat of flooding. And even though we are here tonight for a pergola, I ask that you consider all the variances and the impact that this has on our community. But let me tell you, a big structure that I see already has being built before you can even okay it. I see it from my backyard. I can see 2 structures. There was a crane there and another one, and they've already built half of it. And yet they're here tonight to ask permission from you. That is a detriment to my property. It is not for substantial use. This facility has been operating for many years. They have a gazebo, they have the water mill, they have plenty for the brides there to have anything that they want. This, I believe, is for a different purpose. And it does change the environment because any machinery, any dust, pollution, anything that happens back there comes right to my house. So it does affect me. So I do believe that there are issues. I hope you understand my point of view, and I do ask that you consider the variances. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Good evening. My
Again,
name is-
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but again, we're only here
Totally
for front yard variance from 50 feet to 24 feet for pergola,
Got it.
okay?
Promise.
Thank you very much.
My
Could you-
name is Suzanne Ober,
Okay.
and
Spell
I
your-
live
Spell your last name, please.
O-B-E-R, and I'm on Belinda Court.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here tonight to speak about the variance for the 1,116 square foot proposed pergola on Terry Road, asking to reduce minimum front yard from 50 feet to 24 feet from the Watermill Scotto Brothers that they have requested. So let's begin. Most important, we want to go over some timelines that are a little bit concerning. So in February, plans from the Watermill Scotto Brothers architects were issued to the building department for review. Now we fast forward to June 19th of 2019. The Scotto brothers officially requested the building department approve the permit for the 1,116 square foot structure. June 24th, 2019, the Smithtown Building Department denied this request. Now, July 1st, Watermill applied for the variance with the planning department, and here we are. So here's when things get a little confusing and tricky. The Scotto brothers started to build this structure as of pretty much that afternoon, and it currently sits peeking out from above the fence on Terry Road, 24 feet from the front yard. So today, the Watermill stands before you to ask for you to approve whether or not they'll be allowed to not only build this 1,116 square foot structure, but if they can place it much closer to the road than the town code allows. Again, just so we're all on the same page, the proposed pergola is already built and put in place, 24 feet from the front yard. Now, this is quite disturbing to us, their neighbors, simply because it seems they're not following protocol and continue to have an agenda to ultimately do what works for them. The Watermill policy seems to be build now and ask later. Another example of this is we can simply look back at the last few years at a similar situation that affected other neighbors, the Scotto brothers' other property down the road, Insignia Steakhouse. Now, unfortunately, I did discover, after reviewing many documents from the town attorney's office, that dating back from 2011, that the parking space violations came up, and they had knocked down 47 trees in a green zone that was a barrier between them and their neighbors. And they put in 60 parking spaces. Now, listen, again, I just bring that up, that it shows that there's no regard to their residential neighbors, that that's something that they needed, and they did. And so today, I'm hoping that you can hear what we've said and deny this request for a structure that is clearly already built, so you can prevent the inevitable from happening again. Thank you for your time.
Right, thank you. Who's next? Anyone else? No one else? All right. Mr. King?
You call it right. It's, you know what we're here for. That's it, nothing else. It's all irrelevant.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Well, he knows.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18204, Holika Ridley, 9 Sunken Meadow Road, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the north side of Sunken Meadow Road, 616 feet west of Crestwood Drive. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum lot frontage from 150 feet to 68 feet for lot number 1. Reduce the minimum side yard from 24 feet to 12 feet, reduce the total side yards from 60 feet to 36 feet for lot number 1. Reduce the minimum lot area from 43,560 square feet to 35,095 square feet due to environmentally sensitive land, steep slopes in excess of 15%. Reduce the minimum lot frontage from 150 feet to 77 feet, reduce the minimum side yard from 24 feet to 12 feet, and reduce the total side yards from 60 feet to 35 feet for lot number 2.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tramarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. I don't know if the board recalls, but I certainly do, that we were before the planning board some time ago, and the planning board sent this matter to this board And after consideration, this board denied the application. At that time, we had a flag lot situation. I think the planning department, pursuant to Mr. Flynn, David Flynn, the former director, indicated that he was opposed to it. One of the reasons was that the fire department wouldn't know if there was a house in the back. Anyway, we went back to the drawing board, and we basically split the property in half. That was something that Mr. Flynn had wanted from the very beginning. This is what we did. We think it certainly makes a better application than we had before. One of the things that I want to point out, and I hope I pointed it out the last time, but I guess it doesn't matter anyway, you can see that surrounding this lot, which is, I'm sorry, this is the subject property. And by the way, there's a cabin on it, and that property goes all the way down to the road. The thing that I want to bring up, and I thought I did it last time, but maybe I wasn't clear. In 1995 or so,
That's the
a map was filed, and that map allowed, I don't know, 6, 7, 10 lots, which came all the way up to where this cul-de-sac is up to here. If the planning board would have brought it 25 or 30 feet further in, we would have had access to this back lot like this lot did and was given. This lot also went all the way to the road, so to Sunken Meadow Road. So this lot and lots running along, as you can see, perpendicular, got access by the benefit of this road, which the planning board permitted the developer to do. All they had to do was go 25 or 30 feet further. They would have caught this lot, and it would have had access, just like all the other lots. I can't tell you why they did what they did, but they did it, and it certainly put us in a position, or put my client, the former owner, in a position of not being able to develop the property from that new road that was built there. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I think probably the planning board just overlooked it because it was their policy never really to landlock property. This lot that gets landlocked that my client owns is the same size as this lot, which goes all the way to Sunken Meadow Road. So this lot got the benefit of it, this lot, and this lot didn't. No reason why they couldn't have put that cul-de-sac 25 or 30 feet further, and we wouldn't be here tonight. But we are. And the concern that we have is, oh, and another thing, that cabin that's on the back part of the lot was there when they did this subdivision next door. I believe it was the refuse company that did the subdivision. Their company name escapes me now, but they did plenty of subdivisions in Smithtown. And finally, if you look at the way we've devised it now, and the question is about steep slopes, the steep slopes were there in 1929 and 1930, and I think it's denoted in yellow. We're not touching those slopes. Those slopes are where the house is now. We're not going anywhere near it. So we think this is the best application that we could make. Maybe we should have did that the first time. We didn't. But we're back here now, and we need this board's approval. Without your approval, The planning board can't go any further, and it'll just leave us in a kind of a mess. We have 2 acres of land, and we want to cut it into 1-acre parcels, which is the zoning in the area. And again, had we had the benefit of that road, we wouldn't be here tonight. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration. The question of whether it will produce a change in the character of the area, no, it will not. Whether the benefit sought could be achieved by some other method. We tried the other method, and apparently it didn't please the board. And whether the requested area variance is substantial. It really isn't when you think about it. We do have the area. It's a question of really the frontage. These are long lots, and you really aren't going to, anybody riding along isn't going to notice the difference in the, if there is any differences in the size of the various lots. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the environment. We meet the health department standards. We have more than a ½ acre of land. So environmentally, it's a sound project. There's no depth of groundwater issues in the area. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. I think it was created by the planning board in the 1990s when they developed the map, or allowed the map to be developed, and he didn't go another 30 feet. And again, we wouldn't be asking for any variances from the board, because we would have had the width, and we would have had the depth, and we would have had the area, just like the other lot that you see here. So again, we ask the board for its favorable consideration. I have Frank Caridley, the applicant's husband and builder in the town, if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Is that all right, Mr. Marco? On lot 1, I noticed that you're removing the garage. Am I correct?
Frank?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the house now going to be without a garage on lot 1?
One second, please. Could you state your name and
Yes.
address for the record, please?
My name is Frank Ridley, and I live at 34 Cobbler Lane.
Could you spell your last name for the record, please, sir?
Kiridly.
Thank you.
34 Cobbler Lane. Yes, Cobbler. Cobblei. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Would you ask the question
Yeah.
again, please?
I noticed that you're removing the garage on lot 1.
Yes.
Is there going to be a garage at the house?
We're gonna add a new garage attached to the existing house towards the front. It shows that it says added garage.
That's on lot 2.
Correct.
What about lot 1?
Lot 1, it has a garage. We submitted,
Okay,
we intend to have a built-in garage.
okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the board? No. Planning?
No comments at this time, Mr. Chairman. We're waiting for the recommendation from the planning board.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? All right, come on up, please.
Hi.
Good evening. Could you state your name and address, spell your last name, please?
Kevin Barkin, Barkan, 11 Sunken Meadow Road. Unfortunately, I don't have the benefit of understanding this plan, not from my negligence, but circumstances. I just became aware of this last night. And as I see the map, it doesn't look like there'd be a whole lot of impact to me, because it looks like Lot 2 is pretty maintained as it was, but I don't know if you're going to close this issue tonight or whether I'd have any opportunity to review this because I'm an immediate neighbor to this property, and I thought I should show up tonight. Can someone tell me what sort of changes would impact the property up the hill? I can't make it out from that plan.
Where are you talking about? At the top?
I'm on the right on that
the
survey,
right?
just to the right of that property, Bellhaven Farm.
It appears from the drawing that they're not touching any of it.
Right.
I think the existing house will stay there. They're proposing to build a new house on the lot that would be adjacent to that one.
Right, and that would be the lot that they might have gotten access to the new development, I suppose, years ago. Just some clarification on that garage. On Lot 2, was the gentleman saying that the garage was going to be towards the front of the new garage, towards the front of the existing house?
No, I think you said it was built into the house, part of the
On the plan,
house.
it shows it getting built onto the old house. To the
Sorry,
front.
sir.
You can see it on the drawing up there. It's to the front of the house. It's attached to the house.
Okay. I'll take a better look at it. Well, I suppose that doesn't look to impact us very much, so I thank you. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Someone else wanted to speak on this Come on up, please. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Donald Sweetser. I lived on the left-hand side, just opposite the gentleman just before me.
Could you spell your last name, please, sir, for the record?
S-W-E-E-T-S-E-R,
And your address?
7 Sunken Meadow Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really confused about this and the plan as to what their expectations
Could you use the microphone, please, so we can get it
Sure.
on the record?
I'm confused about the plan and what they're doing with the plan. It seems that he just wants to build 2 houses on 1 lot. And it's not as though he's putting an extension on a house. From what I see, he's either going to tear down both houses and build 2 houses, but I haven't heard what exactly is going to be done there. And with me living down below him, it's just difficult for me to understand.
All right. We'll bring back Mr. Tramarko and get an explanation for you.
Can you give me an explanation, Mr. Marco?
Well, excuse me. We'll bring him back.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
No.
No? Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on this application? No one else? You're on.
I'm going to ask Mr. Caridley to explain the location of the new house and where it will be located. There's only one new house being built. The house, if you're facing the property on the right, will remain just as it is, as the board tried to explain to the first gentleman, nothing is being touched on that side. So Frank, if you would explain.
Exception.
You have to use the microphone, please.
I just want to add this so will not be misleading. As the lady on the board, she asked, we're adding garage to the existing house on the number 2. We are adding a garage to the existing house on lot 2. which is the one next to your property.
Where is that garage?
Excuse me, you know,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
going directly, but should that be addressed in the board?
you have to address the board, please.
Okay, my apology. The,
Wants to know where the garage is on the old house.
it is part, it's underneath, I mean, it's on the first floor. It's a front-loading garage. It's part of the house. On lot number one. And lot number one, which is a lot where the new lot will have a house, and the house farther than the existing. There is an existing detached garage right now, which is fairly old. I mean, not fairly, very old. And we plan to take down that garage. That garage is 12 feet away from lot on 7 San Camilo Road. Now we're gonna be with the new structure, we're gonna be farther out. So we are actually less invasive than. So the house gonna, the new house gonna improve the situation. Okay. Am I understood?
And it also appears that you're putting a planting, a
Yes,
buffer
we're
in
gonna put buffer between us
between
us
you
and
and
lot number 7 or 7
7.
San Camilo Road, which is, it will be additional. I mean, it's heavily treed, but definitely towards the front need additional buffer, and this is what we intend. By the way, you could visit any of my development. You'll be proud of it, all of it.
Mhm.
Beautiful builder for the past 32 years.
Okay, thank you. You get one opportunity to ask your questions.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm just totally confused about this garage on lot 2. It doesn't appear to be on that, the existing garage appears to be on that survey. I don't understand where the new garage is going to be built.
Excuse me, what was your name again?
Kevin Market.
Can you come up here, please?
Oh, wait a minute. You gotta tell.
I'm just seeking clarification on the location.
Right.
What I understand, there's a new garage.
Right.
On lot 2, which is adjoining my
I guess
property.
you're asking, is it going to be built on the left-hand side of the house or the right-hand side of the house?
Where is it going to be built?
That's what you're asking?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you answer his question, please?
Yes, the garage will be built on the left-hand side,
On the
away
le-
from his property.
Away from his property?
As a matter of fact, it will be more towards the new lot number 1.
Mhm.
So it's, if anything, the old garage is really an eyesore, and we try to demolish it. So it is gonna be definitely big improvement to the whole neighborhood, both lots.
All right,
It will be substantially improved.
all right, thank you. You have anything to add, Mr. Tramarko?
No.
Okay. You have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. And you know there's no sequel, Mr. Tramarko, so there'll be no decision tonight.
The next application is case number 18205, Elizabeth and Gerald Barrasso, 91 Stony Hill Path, Smithtown. The location of the property, the east side of Stony Hill Path, 119 feet west of Meadow Road. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard from 24 feet to 19 feet for a proposed 388 square foot garage addition with 61 square foot proposed portico. Reduce the minimum front yard from 60 feet to 56 feet, which is existing, for a proposed 324 square foot front porch and 1,596 square foot second floor addition. Increase the square footage of attached garages from 750 square feet to 900 square feet. Increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 40%.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Jerry Barrasso. I live at 91 Stony Hill Path.
And would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
Please.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Michael Morbillo, architect for the applicant. My firm is Nspire Design Group. My office is located at 273 Lake Avenue in St. James, New York. As was stated in the call of the meeting, we are proposing some additions to an existing residence, which presently does not have conforming front yard setbacks. So that's one of the requests tonight, but I'll go through each of the requests. As was mentioned, we are looking to add on, presently we're looking to add on a garage, a third car garage to the house in the proximity of the existing two-car garage. That is where the reduction for the side yard is coming from. As you can see on the survey, the house is a little bit skewed to the property line. So at the front of the proposed garage extension, we're actually about 22 feet, and when you get to the back, we're about 19 feet. This request is, it represents about a 21% encroachment into the required side yard setbacks. We're not seeking total side yards on our requests. Some of the other things that we are asking for is to reduce the front yard setback from 60 feet to 56 feet. The existing house, the garage on the existing house that's attached is presently at 56 feet. We are looking to expand the front of the house slightly and also put a porch across the front of the house in line with the garage. We're not looking to protrude any further than the existing the front garage on the house. One of the other requests again is that it's a lawful non-conforming structure that has to do with the front yard setbacks. The last request is for maximum permitted paving surface in the front yard. There has been a horseshoe driveway that's been on the property for many, many decades. The width of the driveway is about 15 feet. And the code allows for a 12-foot wide driveway. And so as soon as we get over that 12 feet, the driveway gets included in all of the front yard coverage. So the horseshoe portion of the driveway represents about 20% of our request, up to 40%. If the driveway had been maintained at a 12-foot width, that would actually occupy about 16% of the front yard. So, technically, we're almost allowed to get up to 36% if the driveway width is there. So we're about 3 feet wider. And again, this has been a driveway that's been there for a long time. The request will not have an adverse effect on the environment. We will also not have an adverse effect on the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood. We're looking to do a home that is sort of a craftsman style, where we have a large sort of cape-style roof with some dormers on it. We're trying to control the massing so that we don't have a substantial roof on it. The request, as I can point it out, the requests are not substantial, where most of these are below 20% as far as what we're asking for, and some of them are existing. And we don't really have too many other options based on the configuration of the lot. Again, as I'd mentioned, the house is somewhat skewed to the property lines, and the conditions of the existing lot, being that it was non-lawful, were not created by my client. So if the board has any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Well, thanks.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, please. Good
Hi.
evening.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
You'd state your name,
Yes,
spell your last
my
name.
legal name is Geraldine H. as in Helen, Geiger, Gei, Ger. I live at 93 Stony Hill Path, Smithtown, New York. Been a resident for what will be 27 years this Labor Day weekend. I know this house well. The prior owner purchased within 6 months of us purchasing the house. I could draw the plans. I'm very, very happy that these people have bought this house and that they are fixing up the flipper's nightmare that was created a year ago. So I don't have any objection to the style of the house, to what they want to do in terms of the structure and what it'll look like. It's going to look better in the neighborhood than what's there now. I know most people don't stand up and come to meetings and say that, but I just wanted to let everyone know. And their parents live across the street, and they're lovely people, and they have a lovely house. So I know that they have very good taste. I'm not concerned about anything to do with aesthetics. I only have one concern, and this concern is not due to any negligence on anyone's part. It's due to sightline, okay? My concern is when the garages are built, we're going to go from 25% of the frontage being covered in asphalt to 40%. The frontage of that house is approximately 60 feet, although it is non-conforming, so it's 56 feet by 100 feet. When I do my calculations, it's an increase. I have nothing against paving itself. That doesn't bother me. I'm concerned about drainage, proper drainage, because when you're standing in, excuse me one second, I'm going to refer to it as Bob's. When you're standing in the original line, Mr. Lyons was the first owner. When you're standing in the driveway and you're in front of the garages that exist today, there's paving, but it drops off as much as 4 feet down to my property, and my property rolls down. All of our properties roll down to the bottom of a hill. We all have approximately an acre. Our garages face each other, which I like. It's a sound barrier, it's a privacy thing. But my biggest fear is with the addition of the paving, where is the water going to go? It's a runoff issue. And I don't know if Mr. Barrasso knows this. It's not a concern of mine personally, but someone informed me that when the bulldozer came into the property and they basically clear-cut across the back of the property where it dips, apparently when it rains, there's a huge puddle on the bottom. I can't see it from my house. I could personally care less, but that's what I'm concerned about. I just don't want that. Also, just for the record, my mother was a biochemist, a biologist. She did scientific speaking for people, and she was obsessed with water sitting still and mosquitoes breeding. And that's really my drainage concern, because my property is so wooded that when the water runs down, no one's gonna see it, except the deer. And The problem is the neighborhood does get sprayed. We're right near the Nissaquag River. I could run to the river. And so that's breeding mosquitoes is always a concern. And that's basically it. I don't see any water necessarily coming into my house because we're up fairly high too. But it's a drainage issue. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Nope. We'll bring Michael back to answer your
Okay.
concerns.
Oh, one other thing. I'm having trouble picturing. Oh, good. Keep that photo. Okay. This is my question for Michael. I see the one in the drawings. I see the one garage is facing the street, which means I'm assuming two of them are going to be facing my property, which, like I said, I don't care about. Frankly, I would be happy to get rid of those sliding glass doors where you can see into their house. I know, I'm sorry. I bought a house on a corner for a reason. So I just wanted to know how far back, looking at the picture, it looks like the addition with the garage is just going to go to the edge of the house, so I won't see it from my backyard. Does that make sense?
We'll ask.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? No one else? All right. Mike, you want to come back and answer her concerns?
So she is correct. The addition is going to be starting at the back of the existing garage. So where she pointed out, there's sort of a little bit of a drop-off that's there. That's where that covered patio area was in the picture, yeah, right there. The garage is going to be that area, so you won't see into the house anymore because they had a covered portico on the side. That area is being converted over to living space now. Just one thing for the record also, we're not looking to increase any paving area on the property as it stands right now. It's all existing. There's presently is a side entry garage on the house, which we're going to keep. The proposal is to add in a third car garage, which is a front-loading garage, and the two existing side access garages are going to remain in place. So, but we're not, the 40% is what's there right now. We're just seeking to legalize that. As I mentioned, we're allowed to have up to 36%. We're really only about, if the driveway was 12 foot wide, we'd be allowed 36%. And certainly, my clients were aware, they did buy the house, and somebody had sort of failed in an attempt to try and renovate it, and they're looking to, bring the property up to, good living standards, clean standards. There was some growth, maybe even some bamboo growth in the back or something that people had there, previous owners had. So it's their desire to clean up the property, and certainly if there was ever a standing water issue or something, they would take care of it. There is a substantial drop-off towards the back of the property. It is a large piece of property. And, my guess is some of that eventually makes its way down to the Nissaquag River. They're not in an environment, they're right on the edge of the corridor, the wild and scenic corridor. They're not in it themselves, but they certainly want to restore the natural beauty that's probably been neglected over the years, and most certainly by the person that had bought the house to flip
What
it.
about the drainage in the front?
Yeah, I didn't hear a concern about, I did hear a concern about drainage and other things, leading to puddling or ponding. It sounded like in the back. But if there's any circumstance where there's a drainage issue, we will certainly address that and put in any type of storm drain by the drive or anything, so we don't have runoff that's going onto their property, certainly from the driveway, even if that means putting in an edging or something to control water. I mean, it's an old driveway, and it's their intent to replace, and replace some of the paving and doing other things, and which would probably mean getting some edging so that you don't have water running right off of the driveway onto any property that may be lower in elevation than that one. And I think that addressed all of our
Right.
concerns.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're all friends.
All righty. The next case on the agenda, case number 18206, Stephen LaSala, 61 St. James Parkway, Wisconsin. The location of the property, the east side of St. James Parkway, 250 feet north of Hampton Avenue. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered where depth to groundwater is equal to or less than 10 feet. Increase the maximum gross floor area of a lot from 30% to 100% for a proposed 3,765 square foot two-story dwelling with a 428 square foot attached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Stephen LaSala, L-A-S-A-L-A. I reside at 66 St. James Parkway in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So I do believe the house we're building for our son and future daughter-in-law, which is directly across from ours, on environmentally sensitive land. We are not putting a basement. We have Suffolk County Department of Health approval for a septic. All the adjoining properties do have basements, so it's not going to create any hardship on them. We're not encroaching on any zoning requirements. I mean, as far as setbacks, I don't have much else to say unless you guys have some questions for me.
3,700 square feet plus is pretty substantial for that area, isn't it?
No, I live across the street, and I have a larger home than that. And the house just to my...
Excuse me, the house right across?
Mhm.
Okay.
And right to my south, that's another family member, my mother and father, and behind this plot is another family member. And we all have similar, all 100 by 100 or 125 by 100. The one to my south is actually 60 by 100. They were small. Some of them were smaller than others back in that day. But that's an average size for the area, absolutely.
I have a question, I think it's for planning. If the lot's 10,000 square feet and the building is 3,765 square feet, how is the gross floor area only 30%?
He's permitted to have 30%, but because of the high groundwater, he basically has no buildable lot area. So the FAR goes from the 30% permitted to 100% of the lot area.
Oh, so you don't actually say 37
right.
proposed, you
His
say
actual
100.
floor area is 38%.
Okay, thank you.
And just to make the board aware, and the cases are in the box if you do care to look at them, there were two other properties on St. James Parkway that did come before the board for floor area variances, and I believe one of them was Mr. LaSala. Two of them, one was for 32% and the other was for 35%, and they were both approved with conditions by the board.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? No? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
Second?
Moved and second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, have a nice evening.
You too.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18207, George Papadopoulos, 20 Jamor Court, Wisconsin. The location of the property, the north side of Jamor Court, 800 feet north of Town Line Road. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum side yard from 16 feet to 14 feet for a proposed 427 square foot garage addition.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Hello, everyone. First time here, so Yeah, I want to basically.
I'm sorry, can you state your name and
Oh, my
address for
name
the
is
record,
George
please?
Papadopoulos, and I live at 20 J Moore Court, in Wisconsin, New York. George Papadopoulos. 20 J Moore Court, the property in question. Okay, so what I'm requesting here is a variance for basically to set from basically of 2 feet, which is actually was stated before. This is for a garage addition. Well, actually, what we're trying to do is, the home is, we're 5 family members. The home is a little bit tight for us, so we're trying to update the kitchen, take over some space, and we're looking to take over the garage to enhance the living environment. By doing that, of course, the house will not have a garage, but we want to basically add the garage space. We need the garage space, and the 2-foot variance will give us the room that we need in order to be able to do what we would like to do with the garage addition. Also, we're also not really be a decrement to the community in terms of how the houses are built there. So it'll be a sizable, not a 2-story, not a 2-car garage as it is right now, but enough of a space so this way it's not detrimental to the nearby community. Now, there are no neighbors actually that are facing that side of the property. I have actually some pictures, and I don't know if there were some pictures actually that were put forward, but as you can see, basically the proposed addition to the house, which would extend basically the property, it faces a town-owned area, a wooded area, and essentially there are no neighbors there that will be impacted. It will not be, I'm at the edge of the court, so it's not very visible. It's behind a tree line. And the only neighbor that's actually adjacent to the house property is on the other side. And across the street, they're not facing my house. They're facing actually to sort of normal, so to the right. So, and there's a fence there. So basically, we're trying to add this thing to the right, take over the garage, as I said, in order to enhance the kind of the living experience as my 3 boys are growing up, getting one in high school, the oldest, so, we need kind of space, kind of sort of falling, walking over each other basically inside the house. I don't think there will be an impact. Again, the addition, I think, will allow us to have a house that looks good in the neighborhood with the garage instead of not having a garage. And there is this difficulty, was not self-created. I think we want to basically, be in a better living environment with the house we have. We love the neighborhood. We want to stay there, so we don't want to move. So I think this will be a really nice thing to do.
All right.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard in this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. What?
5 minutes.
Oh. You need 2 minutes? All right. Excuse me, we're going to be taking a 5-minute break, please. Thank you. We're going to go back into session now.
Okay. The next case on the agenda, case number 18208, Nicole Farantelli, 37 Dorchester Road, Smithtown. The location of the property, the west side of Dorchester Road, 560 feet north of Cortlandt Row. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum distance to the rear lot line from 8 feet to 3 feet for an existing 214-square-foot shed. Permit environmentally sensitive land to be altered. Depth of groundwater is less than 10 feet for a proposed 20-foot by 40-foot in-ground pool and the existing 214-square-foot shed.
Good evening.
Hi, hello.
I'm Nicole Ferrantelli, Ferrantelli. I live at 37 Dorchester Road in Smithtown.
Would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
Yes, please.
Fine, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Peter Booth, B-O-O-T-H, 5 Kirk Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ms. Ferrantelli comes before the board requesting a rear yard variance for an existing shed. Now, when she purchased the home in 2012, the shed was already there. So it was to her surprise that when we applied for the building permit for the pool, that the shed came up, that there was no permit or anything done for the shed. As far as the pool is concerned, we don't need any variances for the rear or the side for the pool, but being in an environmentally sensitive area, we do have groundwater, and we would have to dewater to install the pool. So I put it before the board for, should you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18210, Vincenzo Puglisi, 6 Shoreview Court, Wisconsin, the location of the property, the south side of Shoreview Court, 238 feet west of Lake Avenue. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard from 16 feet to 5 feet, reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 31 feet for a proposed 696 square foot garage addition.
Good evening.
Hi, Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York. I have a letter from the neighbor on that side who is in favor of the application. I'd like to hand that up. I have some photos of his house, which is a beautiful home.
Thank you. Just grab it, yeah.
Will change in the character of the neighborhood. In order for him to build this garage, he needs the variance. I don't think it's that substantial. If you look at the total side yards, won't have an adverse effect on the environment, and it's not self-created in that we're asking for the relief. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
I have something funny to say, but I won't. I thought it didn't matter what the neighbors said.
You know, it doesn't matter. But let me say this to you, now that you started on me.
Don't start.
You started me up.
I just want it on the record.
That it's not relevant.
Planning?
Just an observation, Mr. Chairman, as a suggestion. The applicant could actually reconfigure the dimensions of the garage to provide a 10-foot side yard setback by making it 25 feet wide and increasing the depth to 30 feet, which would actually give him a 750 square foot garage with a 10-foot side yard setback.
He's in Italy.
I'm sorry?
He's in Italy, so I can't, I wish he was here. I don't want to have to come back. May I submit his, what he would like, if he agrees with planning? Would that be correct?
Sure.
You all right? And then I won't have to come back. If he says okay, I think we'll be happy to do it. If he says no, then I'll leave it to you guys.
Okay, fine.
Is that all right?
That'd be
So we
fine.
would have to leave it open until the next meeting and then close it, right?
Yeah.
When does he come back
But I don't want to have to
from-
come back or do anything, right? I'm just going to submit his view. Thank you very much.
750 square feet he'll get?
Thank
He
you,
would get
Mr.
750
Tanzi.
square feet.
All right, this case we'll leave open until the next meeting, which is September 10th?
10th.
Yes.
September 10th? September 10th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Leave it, just leave it. We'll get it later.
The next application on the agenda is case number 18211, Maywood Corporation, 931 Middle Country Road, St. James. The location of the property, the northeast corner of Middle Country Road and White Avenue. The property is zoned WSI. The applicant is requesting a modification of a special exception for an existing repair garage to increase the maximum permitted height from 18 feet to 20 feet and decrease the minimum distance from the side lot line from 10 feet to 5 feet for an existing 855 square foot accessory structure.
Good evening.
Good morning. Good evening, members. My name is John Gleason. I'm the architect for the property that we're here for a variance for. I'm at 336 6th Avenue in St. James.
I have the power of attorney.
You have? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. I'm here to represent the Maywood Corporation, which owns and operates Harbor Collision. It is owned by John Padone.
I'm sorry.
What? Harbor, Harbor. Yeah, Harbor Collision. And it is owned by John Padone. I submitted my power of attorney to Blaze. We're here for a detached building that was that is a built prior structure, so it was self-created by the owner. It was built in about 2011. He built the building due to his workload of auto body repairs, repairing trucks and automobiles. So he needed more space, and this was the most logical place to expand his business. The garage is 20-foot high, built of masonry block and wood frame roof structure, conforms to the New York State Building Code as it's currently constructed and used. The building is 5 feet off the east property line, and the requirement is for 10 feet in WSI. And that is why one of the variances we are seeking. The property that adjoins the property to the east is also zoned WSI. I don't think there's any detrimental harm to the neighboring property, as they can build a similar structure. The height of the garage is 20 feet required. I believe is 15 feet, 18 feet, and that's an additional variance. The high ceiling is required to have lifts that are needed to work on the automobiles. And this is, like I mentioned, a self-created situation. He built the building without a permit. That's why we're here for our variances. Special exception use is for continuing to use this as a repair garage as far as the town code permits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone on the board have any questions?
No.
No? Planning?
Planning prepared a planning advisory report that all of the board members received a copy of. We recommend approval of the application based on our review. And as a note, there was a request for a variance that was put on the building denial letter to reduce the side yard from 10 feet to 5 feet. In fact, in the WSI zoning district, the minimum side yard setback is 5 feet. So this certainly is not a required variance. We recommended denying that without prejudice because it's not necessary. As far as the height goes, the setback of the building, if you look at the site plan, you can see that the building is set back about 100 feet from Middle Country Road, about 150 feet from White Avenue. So the 2-foot in height difference really has no impact.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
Second?
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. One second, we have to read it first.
The next case on the agenda, case number 18212, Pamela Lee Varone, 12 Pebble Place, Comac. The location of the property, the south side of Pebble Place, 377 feet south of Split Rail Place. Is that in Comac or Smithtown?
Comac.
It is Comac, okay. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum rear yard from 50 feet to 28 feet for an existing 722 square foot second-story addition and 341 square foot existing second-story deck. To reduce the minimum distance from any lot line from 3 feet to 0 for decking and an existing 35-foot by 18-foot in-ground pool.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Christina Fry, an attorney with offices at 7 Pine Ridge Drive, Smithtown, New York, 11787. On behalf of the homeowner, Pamela Goldstein. Ms. Goldstein is the daughter of the predecessor, a homeowner who has owned the house since it was built in the 1960s. There's an outstanding issue with respect to the deck that I'd like to address first. There's a substantial amount of decking on this property, some of which extends 2/10 over the property line, and a shed. We intend to remove the infringement of the decking over the property line and the shed as well, as the shed abuts the property line and is not in very good shape. However, we'd like to keep the decking that abuts the property lines on the other side of the property, on the west side and the south side. Our view is that somebody will be taking this property over soon and plans to actually rehabilitate the backyard and use pavers rather than decking and put more grass in because there's very little grass in the backyard. As for the addition, that was built over 20 years ago by the homeowner in order to give her teenagers a place to bring their friends. It's a 2-story addition. The main floor is an extension of the den of this high ranch for a large great room of 500 square feet. Above that first floor is a second-story sunroom of 216 square feet that comes off the kitchen with 340 square feet of decking with steps to grade. With the steps, we're looking for a minimum rear yard setback of 28 feet from 50 feet. As it's existed for over 20 years, it certainly hasn't had any impact on the neighborhood in terms of pricing of other homes or devaluation of other homes. It is, this board is accustomed to granting in R10 districts a rear yard setback while we're asking for almost 50%. I have done research in the area to see other homes that have substantial additions in the rear yard that require the same rear yard setback, some of which include 33 Harvest, 8 Rye Place, a 118, 101, 94, 124, 133, and 152 Hayrick, all of which have similar additions. And those are habitable space additions, not decking. There are many other additions to properties in that area that are substantial decking. These that I've named relates to actual first and second story additions. And again, as the alleged difficulty was created by the original homeowner, the parents of the current homeowner, who's now has the house on the market for sale and has had the house on the market for some time due to these permit and variance issues that exist on the property. Thank you.
You had indicated there's some decking that infringes on the neighbor's property?
Yeah, if you look at the
What
survey.
side? Is that south or west?
South.
Oh, the south side, okay.
2/10 of a foot south. It's a couple inches that need to be shaved off. And we saved that to do when we took the shed down, so that when we have a dumpster for the shed, we'll be able to cut back the decking to the extent required.
Okay.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question for planning. Isn't this more than 25% of decking? Don't they need a variance for that?
No, actually. Decking is not considered
Paving?
paving. Therefore, it's not a coverage issue so much as a setback issue.
Okay, thank you.
And the decking has existed since the pools existed, 1967.
Anything else?
That's it.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Come on up, please.
Hello, my name is Irene Karp, K-A-R-P. I'm at 10 Pebble Place in Comac. I'm right next door. My issue is they're saying it's a second story. A high ranch has 2 floors already. This is, to me, basically a third story. I don't know how high they're looking to go up and then put a 30-foot deck on top of it. To me, it sounds like they're going to be taking advantage of privacy of everybody else's backyard, because that's pretty high to me. I don't know the height that they're talking about, because that's going to change the character of the neighborhood. It's not a cul-de-sac, it's called a bubble.
I think you're misinformed on the application. I think this is to legalize what's existing. There's nothing.
Okay, so if they say it's okay to build up,
No, this
she's
is
not
just
building
for
it.
the house that's there. This is.
so they're not adding anything to the house at all?
Nothing.
Okay, because that, I misunderstood the way they're saying it here, that they want a 2-story addition. So
No.
that's why I'm thinking, okay, they're adding to it. All right, and then they want to do a 0 footage to the fence?
For the existing deck that's there.
Okay, which would be 6 inches away from my fence.
Yeah, if it's there now, that's where it's staying.
There isn't there now. They only have the wood, and then they have plants, which is probably about 6 feet from my fence. So now they want to go flush.
I don't think they're adding anything. I think it's all just to legalize
So
what's
then I'm
already there.
misunderstanding the way they're
This-
writing
Yeah,
this
this
stuff.
is just an application to
Okay.
legalize what's
All
there.
right, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please? Second. Moved in second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried, thank you.
The next application on the agenda, case number 1-18128, Linda Matika. The location of the property is on the east side of Lillian Road, 1,065 feet south of Eklund Boulevard. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum required lot area from 10,000 square feet to 5,000 square feet, to reduce the minimum lot frontage at setback line from 75 feet to 50 feet for a proposed 2-story single-family dwelling.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing when I submitted the other case, so you probably put it in that file. Okay, so after a lot of thought and consideration, my client has decided to make this application solely with the restriction that if the board grants it, we will use it for a sanitary flow right. As this board knows, a sanitary flow right, you have to put a covenant on the property that it could never be developed. It has to stay in its natural state. You can't put a swimming pool on it. You can't put a set of swings on it. That's the rule that the Suffolk County Health Department has with these transfer of sanitary flow rights. And I really try to explain this, and every time I don't do a good job, so I'm going to try and do it better this time. This property that we're asking for, the 50 by 100, will not be developed with anything if this board grants the variance. I do have to go through the criteria and indicate to the board that we are entitled to a variance to build a house. And the last time we talked about the subject property and the lots, just on Lillian and Audubon alone, there are 11 50-foot lots, separate built 50-foot lots. So the character of the area is there. I'm going to submit another map. I don't know if you still have the first one that we submitted. We're also submitting photographs of all dwellings that are 50-foot wide on Lillian and Audubon. We're also submitting a history letter and certificate of occupancy regarding 72 Audubon Street. That's our adjacent property to the rear, which is owned by my client. That certificate and history letter indicates that it was solely on that half of the property upon which the dwelling now exists. In other words, the lot, the separate lot did not, was not a part of the CO that was granted many years ago, as well as the original lot. So it was always kept separate. I did cite to you the last time a BZA case number 17634. The name was Mallon, William Mallon, and you approved a 50-foot wide lot on Plaisted Avenue, South Plaisted Avenue. So we feel that pursuant to the character of the area and the precedent that this board set with the granting of the variance on Plaisted Avenue, that we have a right to build a small house on the subject property. But we're not going to do that. If the board grants the variance, it certainly can condition any variance grant that we file a restrictive covenant, which is required by the Health Department and the town of Smithtown, that the property never be developed in any way. It will remain part of my client's house property, but it could only be used as a backyard without any improvements. You can walk on it, you can look at the birds and stuff like that, but you can't even put a swing set on it. So we don't feel that this will be an undesirable change in the character of the area. If the board decides to grant it, we're not changing anything. What our neighbors have looked at all of these years, they will continue to look at without any change at all. There'll be no changes whatsoever. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method, well, there is no other method. Again, we're just looking for a sanitary flow right, and when the town grants that with the health department, no, the reverse, the health department approves it and the town approves it also, that covenant is filed and you can't do anything else with the property forever. Whether the requested area variance is substantial. Well, it's not substantial in this area because of the character of the area. So, assuming we were asking to build a house, that house that we would build, the only request we're making is a 50-foot front yard 50-foot wide front yard setback at the setback line. We're not asking for any variances. Were we to build a house, that house would have to maintain the 28-foot total side yards. So it would be a rather small house if we were to build a house, but we're not building a house. Will it have any adverse effect on the environment? Well, this is the best of all worlds because it's going to stay just the way it is. The benefit that my client gets is that development of sanitary flow rights could be transferred to another property that needs flow rights. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, this is the way the lots were set up many, many years ago. I believe it was a summer community, and many, many people bought 50-foot of property, and there were 25-foot lots, and they built small structures and enjoyed the area, I believe, near Lake Ronkonkoma. So I'm just going to say it one more time so I'm not unclear about it. We don't want to build a house. We asked this board to grant us the variance solely so we could do our sanitary flow rights. The property will look same, smell, and be the same forever. Thank you.
Thank you. For those that are here for this case, do you understand what's happening?
See, I'm not clear.
What, let me,
You want me to try and explain it? You want to do it? I helped them write it. There's an ordinance in the town of Smithtown. It's called the Transfer of Development Flow Rights, the TDFR ordinance. And it was created to try and discourage development in areas where it would be opposed and encourage it where it would be accepted, i.e. try to discourage development on small lots, lots with steep slopes, lots that may be landlocked by other parcels, and encourage it in areas where the town needs it, like downtowns, where they could take the right to develop there and transfer it to the downtown where you could add a restaurant, because Suffolk County Health Department doesn't allow over-intensification of existing lots in Suffolk County because we don't have active sewer systems in all of our downtowns. So this ordinance was written probably 7 or 8 years ago to try and encourage just this type of application where somebody could theoretically build a house. They would say, all right, we won't build the house, we'll sell the rights to build the house to create something in a receiving district, which I believe is primarily in the downtowns in Smithtown.
okay.
Because you need the variance because
Get
the
the
health department does not recognize it as a developable lot unless we give it the right to be developed, because this board has to. If it was a 10,000 square foot lot, the health department would say, okay, it's a lot. Because it's 5,000, they don't allow it.
And, well, we'll put conditions on there that if we do grant this and the applicant changes their mind, the variance is a null and void. We'll get the proper verbiage from legal, how to do it properly, but you will be protected. All right, you have a question? Come on up.
How are you this
How are you?
evening?
Could you state your name and address for the record, please? Spell
Sure.
your last name.
John Conte, C-O-N-T-E. I reside at 67 Audubon Street, and I just want to let you know what's going on at 72 Audubon Street at the moment. Just last night, there's someone living there, and they're building bonfires with construction debris, okay? So this has been going on. My neighbor Rocco is not here. He's on vacation. He complained about this the last time, but he addressed it with the young man who's living there. He stopped it. He knows Rocco's on vacation, so last night he went and does this again. I have a sore throat today because of what I breathed in last night when I was walking my dog. Okay, this has been going on. My other neighbors are going to attest to this in about a minute. Okay, so we're talking about health department, we're talking about sanitary flows. It's malarkey to me.
Somebody's live on this property?
This is, yes, someone is in 72 Audubon Street right now.
On this
Is there a house there?
Well, wherever this lady's home is. I knew her mom.
But not on this
Who's
property.
Irene?
I'm talking about on this property.
On
subject to the
Lillian, no.
variance.
On the house behind,
It's vacant.
Right, it's vacant, this
the house
property.
is vacant?
This
Oh, the lot.
property in question that we're talking about
Yeah, I
is vacant.
understand that. The home behind it,
Well,
We're not
which
has
is
talking
nothing
about
attached
do-
to
that
right
has
now.
That has nothing to do with this variance.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'm against it, okay? I live there. I understand completely what's going on, okay? And this gentleman here, last time, he spoke about Plaisted Road. It's a totally different place. I know where that is.
We're only talking
We're
about
talking
this
about
this
on Lillian
vacant
Road, I
property. We're not
understand that.
talking about anybody, any other property, just this
But
property.
I believe he contradicted himself by saying, no, there'll never be a property there or built. And then he went on to say, if we decide to build a house, it'll be a small one, okay? Again, I'm here again. This second time I'm here, I'm strongly opposed to this. That's all I have to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anyone else? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Iasenza, Iasenza. I live at 71 Audubon Street, so I am the house right across the street from them. And I heard what you said. It really doesn't have to do with the property, because their house is there, and then you guys are talking about the property behind them.
Correct.
So I don't know if I could say what I want to say, if it even, but like Mr. Conti said, same thing. I don't know who they're renting it to, but it's been a problem. The people they had before them were excellent people. Corey and I forgot the name, Laura. They were wonderful people, but I know it has nothing to do with it. It is a problem, just to let you guys know. I'm sure you don't know what's going on over there. So that's why when we heard of another house going on there, we just felt like property size was too small and everything like that. And then to have two renters there, it would be too much for the neighborhood. Forget about it. But now, that's what we thought. That's why we were coming here. But now you're saying that it's not going to be a house built, no problem. Some type of water flow, I don't even understand that, but as long as there's not going to be a house, that's fine, and that's that. I don't think this really helps, but the guy that lives next door to them at 70 Audubon Street, he thought also that there was going to be a house, so he had this letter typed up because he's in Italy. So, but you don't even want it.
If you want to give it to us, we'll put it in.
I don't think it matters now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that concludes
Okay.
what I was wanting to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? No? Oh, wait a minute. Good evening.
My name is Karen Gillen. I,
Can you just spell your last name, please?
Gillan.
Thank you.
I live at 66 Audubon Street. I have a similar piece of property. I back onto Lillian. I'm just concerned, this seems like a backdoor way to eventually build on that little tiny piece of property, because when you got denied first, now they come back with some water rights type of thing. There's still a concern that they're going to build on that little piece of property, and if you walk that neighborhood, you wouldn't even know that there is a lot there. I mean, I have the same thing, but mine's 1,000 feet bigger.
Like I said, if we grant the variances for the house, they get the sanitary flow rights. We will make sure that if the applicant changes their mind and says, I have the variances, I want to build a house now, those variances will be null and void, so no one will build on that
But
property.
does that only apply to them, or does that apply to anybody that buys that piece of property? Like I said, if I sell my home, it goes with the piece of property that backs onto Lillian. It's a 60 by 200 piece of land, even though they're two separate plots. So if they sell their house on Audubon, that goes with that property on Lillian, does that still hold true for them?
I believe they give up title to the property, it goes to the
Yep.
town of Smithtown.
So whoever they sell it to,
They
that
don't sell,
variance
they
is
don't,
gonna
act- they
apply
sell
to
the
them as
rights, and then
well.
the property itself gets transferred.
The property becomes what they call sterilized. What that means is that there's no more buildable rights to the property. So regardless of who owns it, they have no right to build on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, they own the rights.
Right.
I knew I wasn't clear. First of all, Mr. Tanzi, we're going to keep the property, but a restrictive covenant.
I don't think that's, I thought the way the ordinance was written, it had to be given in
No,
trust to
no.
a,
I don't think so. I've done it before. Actually, if Blaze, you want to look it up, Michichi, we did it when, if that's what the ordinance says, fine, we'll give it to the town, but I know it doesn't. A restrictive covenant runs with the land. They could have 50 owners, and they're all stuck with the same thing. They put covenants on properties for centuries, and, you know, like they say, you can't build a glue factory in a residential zone. It stays on forever. So there's no way, once we do this, that we could change our mind. The town would have to agree to it. It just would be such a oh, no, we could never do it because we sold the rights already. So it just won't happen. This is no backdoor way of doing anything. It's just a way of getting some value out of it, and at the same time conform to what the neighbors want. The other thing I just want to mention that I've spoken to my clients with respect to the concerns about fires there and so forth, and we're going to look into it. We'll talk to the tenant, but just a word of advice, the next time you see a fire like that, call the fire marshal, call the town inspectors. You're not allowed to burn anything anymore. So, but we're going to check into it anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
so moved.
No. No. Moved and second, all in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Motion
I
carried.
just want to submit the, I don't know if you have it or not from the last.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we have one more case.
Mr. Noser, didn't he adjourn the first one?
That's the first one we adjourned. This one, he wasn't here last week.
So is he here now? There's
No.
nobody else here.
The same guy?
Yeah.
Is that here again?
Well, just, huh?
No, that's what he calls, he's a realtor, that's Margaret.
Well, just read the case. and
I'll
we'll-
read the case.
Read the case.
Okay. The next case on the agenda, case number 18109, Walter Sornoza, 38 Bayberry Drive, St. James, the location of the property, the east side of Bayberry Drive, 199 feet north of Clover Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard from 40 feet to 33 feet for an existing patio, increase the maximum paving in the rear yard from 25% to 45%, which is existing, increase the maximum paving in the side yard from 25% to 70%, which is existing, to reduce the distance of the rear lot line from 1 foot to 0 for existing paving. Is anyone present for this application?
Is Mr. Sonoza here?
How many
No.
times are we gonna?
Well, we'll give them one final.
I thought we did.
No.
I don't believe the last one was a final, but you could certainly make this one a final if you want.
Yeah. This one, we'll give them one final adjournment. It'll be adjourned, case 18109 will be adjourned to October 22nd.
That's the same night as this other one?
No.
No.
And that concludes our meeting for tonight.